Lul Pabs' mother stood in federal court and begged the judge to give Lil Durk life in prison. She did not send a letter. She did not leave it to lawyers. She got on a plane, walked into that courtroom, and made her case directly to the judge herself. What she said in there and why she felt compelled to say it in person turned one of the biggest murder-for-hire cases in hip-hop history into something that no rap beef narrative could contain. Because what this mother has been doing since that day is bigger than one courtroom appearance, and it is far from over. Stay with us because this story is about more than a bond hearing, and the woman at the center of it is not finished. But real quick, if you're serious about winning in the rap game, I put everything I know into one ebook. I'm talking how to actually grow an audience from zero, how to get labels reaching out to you with deals, and even how to get paid in this industry without ever touching a mic. And nah, it's not too late. People love to say the wave passed. It didn't. New artists and new hustlers are blowing up every single day, and the ones eating are the ones who started now instead of waiting. It's only $14.99. That's a few cups of coffee for a blueprint that can change how you move in this game forever. Links in the description bio. Go grab it. Then let's get back to the video. Yo, what's good, fam? We're breaking down the full story of Lul Pabs' mother, her courtroom appearance at Lil Durk's bond hearing, her wrongful death lawsuit, and her relentless pursuit of justice for her son. Let's get into it. Before Lul Pabs became a name attached to a federal murder-for-hire case, he was Xavier Robinson, a young man from Savannah, Georgia, who had nothing to do with the rap industry, nothing to do with any ongoing beef, and nothing to do with the war between OTF and Quando Rondo's camp. He was Quando Rondo's cousin. That was his only connection to any of this. He was not signed to any label, not part of any camp rivalry, not involved in any of the back and forth that had been playing out in music videos and diss tracks for years. He was family, and on August 19th, 2022, being family was enough to get him killed. Federal prosecutors alleged that the shooting that night was not random. According to the indictment, Lil Durk, born Durk Devontae Banks, financed and organized the murder-for-hire operation targeting Quando Rondo. The alleged motive was retaliation for the November 2020 death of Davon Bennett, known as King Von, who died in Atlanta during an altercation involving members of Quando Rondo's circle.
APD says the gun battle took place in 3 different spots near Trinity Avenue, where a total of 6 people were shot, 3 have died. One of them, a rapper Davon Bennett, who goes by the stage name King Von. GBI says King Von and a group of men left Opium nightclub and went to Monaco Hookah Lounge early Friday morning. Investigators say after they arrived, 2 men approached the group in the parking lot and an argument ensued. From there, shots were fired.
Durk and King Von were extraordinarily close. Von was signed to OTF, Durk's collective, and was widely regarded as one of the most gifted storytelling voices to come out of Chicago drill. His death devastated Durk in a way that was publicly documented in his music for years. Prosecutors allege that devastation eventually became something actionable. The indictment alleges that 5 OTF associates purchased plane tickets and rental cars, traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles, tracked Quando Rondo's movements, and executed an ambush near a gas station in West Hollywood. The alleged hitmen approached from an alley and opened fire on the group. LAPD investigators described it as a calculated execution-style attack. Quando Rondo survived. Xavier Robinson, who was standing right there with his cousin, was shot and killed. He was not the target. He was never supposed to be the one who died that night.
Tonight, in a deadly shooting near the Beverly Center, we've learned the victim is a friend of rapper Quando Rondo. The Atlanta-based performer shared this picture on Instagram today. According to the LAPD, the victim was ambushed by 3 men while getting gas on Friday. Video from the scene appears to show Quando Rondo distraught while first responders moved the body.
But in the logic of a murder-for-hire operation, there is no room for the bystander who simply happened to be present. For Xavier's mother, Andrea Lakeela Robinson, August 19, 2022, is the day her entire world split in two, everything before it and everything that came after. She did not receive the news as a headline. She did not see it trending on social media before finding out from family. She experienced it the way any mother experiences the worst possible phone call. And unlike the millions of people who process the shooting as a chapter in an ongoing rap war, she had no framework for any of it. She was not a part of the music industry. She was not following the King Von and Quando Rondo situation. She was a mother from Georgia who lost her only child and the reason why it happened was almost more incomprehensible than the fact that it did. When Lil Durk was arrested in Broward County, Florida on October 24, 2024, the internet exploded. Social media lit up with reactions from fans, from hip-hop commentators, from people who had been watching the situation between Durk, Quando Rondo, and OTF for years. For the rap community, the arrest was a seismic moment. For Andrea Robinson, it was something else entirely. It was the first time the legal system officially confirmed what she had believed since the day her son was killed. That someone had ordered it. That Xavier did not die because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time in some random act of street violence. He died because someone allegedly paid for it to happen. She did not stay silent when the arrest happened. Andrea Robinson took to social media in the days following Durk's arrest and made her position known publicly. While the rap internet was debating guilt, innocence, and the merits of the federal case, she was posting for a different reason entirely. She was making sure that in the avalanche of coverage about Lil Durk, about OTF, about the implications for the Chicago rap scene, people did not forget who was actually dead. She used her platform to put her son's name back at the center of a conversation that had already begun to drift towards celebrity. She was not asking for sympathy from fans. She was demanding that her son be remembered as a person, not a footnote in someone else's legal drama. The response she received on social media was mixed in the way that responses about high-profile rap cases always are. Some people showed genuine compassion. Others, operating entirely within the entertainment logic of hip-hop fandom, reduced her son's death to a point on the scoreboard in a larger beef. She watched people argue about Lil Durk's legacy and his Grammy wins and what the charges meant for his discography. And she was doing all of that, watching while simultaneously planning how to pursue every legal avenue available to her family. Because Andrea Robinson was not going to let the internet cycle dictate the pace of her response. She was building something more permanent. In February 2025, she filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Cook County Court, naming Lil Durk, his OTF record label, a business manager, and a related management company as defendants. The lawsuit alleged that Xavier Robinson was killed in a targeted attack and that the named defendants bear legal responsibility for his death. One of her attorneys, Warren Postman, issued a public statement saying that the premature loss of Xavier Robinson had devastated his family and community, and that the suit was filed to hold those responsible accountable and to ensure the family received support. Another of her attorneys described it plainly. They filed the suit in an attempt to make those culpable take responsibility. The wrongful death lawsuit operated on an entirely separate track from the federal criminal prosecution. A criminal case is brought by the government and requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt. A civil wrongful death suit is brought by the family and seeks financial damages through a different legal mechanism entirely. Andrea Robinson was not choosing between the two paths. She was walking both simultaneously. She filed the civil suit in February 2025, and then, just a few months later, got on a plane to Los Angeles. The bond hearing on June 3, 2025, was already one of the most watched legal proceedings in the case. Lil Durk's legal team had put together a $4.5 million bail package that included cash, 24-hour home detention, electronic monitoring, and private security. The argument was that under those conditions, Banks could be safely released into the community while awaiting trial. Supporters had packed the courtroom. His father spoke to reporters outside. The defense was projecting confidence, and then Andrea Robinson walked in. She had traveled from Savannah, Georgia to Los Angeles specifically to be in that courtroom, not to watch, not to observe the proceedings from a distance with the detached eye of someone following the case through news coverage. She was there to speak. And when she addressed U.S. District Judge Michael Fitzgerald directly, the entire emotional register of that hearing shifted. She broke down in tears. Through those tears, she told the judge something that stopped the room. She said she never in a million years thought she would lose her baby. She told the court that she feared for her own life. She made clear that the danger her family felt did not end when the shooting ended. It had been living inside her every single day since August of 2022. And she needed the judge to understand that releasing the man she held responsible for her son's death would only make that fear worse. That statement, delivered through tears in a federal courtroom 3,000 miles from home, became one of the most discussed moments surrounding the entire prosecution. The sight of a grieving mother standing before a judge and weeping was not something any amount of legal maneuvering could neutralize. It was unscripted. It was real. and it placed a human face on a case that had been dominated by discussions of rap culture, OTF's alleged criminal enterprise, and the mechanics of a federal murder for hire indictment. Lil Durk's attorney, Drew Findling, addressed her appearance publicly in an interview outside the courthouse. He praised her statement as level-headed and expressed genuine compassion for her loss. He said she had told the court that she did not know exactly what happened, only that she had lost her son. He described it as one of the most mature victim statements he had ever witnessed, noting that she showed great respect for the system. What Findling's response revealed, intentionally or not, is that her presence was significant enough that Durk's own legal team felt compelled to respond to it publicly. You do not go out of your way to address something that did not matter. After she left the courthouse that day, she was photographed outside still wearing a memorial button on her chest. The button read, "Xavier, my son, my best friend." She was not hiding from the cameras. She was not rushing to a car to avoid the press. She stood outside that federal building in Los Angeles and let the world see her. And she let the world see her son's face pinned over her heart. That image circulated widely on social media and became one of the defining visuals of the entire case. For every person who had been following the Lil Durk situation as a piece of hip-hop entertainment, that photograph was a reminder that there was a mother on the other side of all of it who had pinned her dead child's face to her chest because she refused to let him disappear. She returned to social media after the bond hearing with the same intentionality she had shown after the October 2024 arrest. She responded publicly to the coverage of the hearing. She made clear that her appearance in court was not a one-time moment of grief. It was a statement of intent. She was going to show up. She was going to keep showing up. Every hearing, every development, every moment where the legal system opened a window for her presence, she was going to climb through it. Because the alternative, sitting at home in Savannah while the case unfolded on screens and in headlines without her, was something she was not willing to accept. Judge Fitzgerald denied the $4.5 million bond request. His 5-page written order explained that the proposed bail package, while substantial in absolute terms, represented only a fraction of Banks' estimated net worth. He also noted a critical and uncomfortable reality about the case. Banks was facing a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole if convicted. And the judge wrote plainly that such a prospect could make flight a rational choice for any defendant, innocent or guilty. He pointed to the fact that Durk had purchased tickets to Dubai shortly before his October 2024 arrest as evidence that the flight risk concern was not theoretical. The bond was denied. Durk remained in federal custody. And Andrea Robinson's words to that judge had become part of the permanent record of a federal murder for hire case. The denial was not a conviction. That distinction matters, and Andrea Robinson knew it. A bond hearing determines whether a defendant can be safely released while awaiting trial, not whether they are guilty of the charges against them. She was not under the illusion that the judge's ruling was a verdict. What she understood, and what she made clear through her public statements following the hearing, was that every step of the process mattered. The bond denial kept the man she held responsible for her son's death behind bars through trial. That was not justice completed. It was justice in progress, and she was watching every step of it. The criminal case has continued evolving in ways that kept public attention locked onto it. Prosecutors sought to introduce Lil Durk's music video and lyrics for Piss Me Off as evidence of his motive, arguing the track demonstrated his resolve to avenge King Von's death. Judge Fitzgerald granted that request. Prosecutors also added racketeering charges, alleging OTF operated as a criminal enterprise, but Fitzgerald later severed those counts from the main trial, ruling the government had not justified combining them. The trial, set for August 20th, 2026, will focus on the Los Angeles murder for hire counts. Through every development, every new filing and ruling, Lul Pabs' name remained in the coverage because his mother made sure it would. The internet's relationship with this case has been a source of its own kind of pain for Andrea Robinson. Social media treated the August 2022 shooting as a chapter in a hip-hop saga. The language online was the language of get back, of war, of competing camps settling a score that started with King Von's death. Clips of Lil Durk's music, fan edits, debates about OTF's loyalty, arguments about who was really responsible for what. All of it circulated endlessly across platforms where millions of people consumed the story as entertainment. For every person who watched the reaction video about Lil Durk's arrest, there was a mother in Savannah who was not entertained. She was living inside the same story that everyone else was treating as content. And the disconnect between those two realities is something she has spoken about publicly and pointedly. She has made it a point in every public appearance and every statement she has given to redirect the conversation towards Xavier as a person, not Xavier as a casualty, not Lul Pabs as a name that appears in a federal charging document. Xavier Robinson, her son, her only child, the young man from Georgia who never made it home from a gas station in Los Angeles, she has kept his face visible, his name spoken, and his humanity at the center of a case that the culture around it has consistently tried to pull toward the famous names on the other side of the courtroom. The timeline of events that brought Andrea Robinson to that Los Angeles courthouse runs through several years and multiple cities. King Von dies in Atlanta in November 2020. Lil Durk absorbs that loss and, according to federal prosecutors, eventually transforms it into an alleged murder-for-hire operation. On August 19, 2022, gunmen approach a group near a gas station in West Hollywood and open fire. Quando Rondo survives. Xavier Robinson does not. 2 years of federal investigation follow. In October 2024, Lil Durk and 5 OTF associates are arrested. In February 2025, Andrea Robinson files a wrongful death lawsuit. In June 2025, she boards a plane to Los Angeles, walks into federal court, and tells a judge through tears that she never in a million years thought she would lose her baby. And then she walks out of that courthouse wearing her son's face on a button, stands in front of the cameras, and makes sure the whole world sees it. There is no outcome in a criminal courtroom that can restore what was taken from her. A guilty verdict cannot undo August 19, 2022. A life sentence, however appropriate she believes it would be, cannot give Xavier Robinson back to the people who loved him. She knows this. She has lived inside this loss for nearly 4 years, and she is not operating under any illusion that a judge's ruling will fill the space her son left behind. What accountability can do, and what she has been fighting for across courtrooms and social media and wrongful death litigation and public statements made outside federal buildings in cities far from home, is ensure that what happened to Xavier is formally recognized, legally documented, and not allowed to be buried underneath the celebrity of the people allegedly responsible for it. The most important person in this story is not the Grammy-winning rapper facing a mandatory life sentence if convicted. It is not the rival rapper who walked away from the gas station that night. It is not the ghost of King Von, whose death allegedly set everything in motion. The most important person in this story is the young man who did not walk away, and the mother who has been carrying his name into every room she can find since the night he was taken from her. She stood before a federal judge and begged him to make sure Lil Durk never walked free. That demand was not just about punishment. It was a mother telling the justice system that her son's life was worth the full weight of what the law allows, and that she was not going anywhere until someone in a position of authority agreed. What made her presence throughout this case so striking is the consistency of it. Andrea Robinson did not shut down. Every time this case generated a new cycle of coverage, she found a way to insert herself into it. Not to make the story about herself, to make the story about Xavier. When the bond denial was reported and people were debating whether the judge made the right call, she was there making clear that keeping Lil Durk in custody was not just a legal determination. It was a matter of her family's safety. That fear was not abstract. She told the court she feared for her own life, said it directly under the scrutiny of a federal courtroom, in front of a judge deciding whether to release the man she believed was responsible for her son's death. She traveled from Savannah to Los Angeles, walked into a building where Lil Durk's supporters had packed a gallery, and told a federal judge on the record that she was afraid that the threat she perceived did not end with the shooting, that an organization with the alleged reach and resources of OTF, connected to a globally recognized artist, left her feeling exposed in ways that had not diminished in nearly 3 years since her son was killed. The civil lawsuit added another dimension to what she was building, by naming not just Lil Durk, but OTF, his business manager, and a related management company as defendants. Andrea Robinson was making a broader claim about responsibility. She was arguing through her attorneys that the alleged murder-for-hire operation was not the act of one individual acting alone, but was enabled and supported by an infrastructure. That argument, if it succeeds in civil court, establishes a legal finding that the people and entities around the alleged operation share accountability for what happened to Xavier on August 19, 2022, Behind the careful legal language is a mother who decided one courtroom was not enough, and that she was going to pursue accountability through every door the legal system made available to her. There is something worth examining in the difference between posting on social media and standing in a federal courtroom. When she posted online, people could scroll past it. They could dismiss her grief, argue about it, or weaponize it for their own narrative purposes. When she walked into that courtroom and addressed Judge Fitzgerald directly, none of that was possible. The judge had to hear her. Durk's attorneys had to sit in that room while she spoke. Whatever legal arguments were being made that day, for the duration of her statement, none of them mattered. There was a mother in the room who had lost her only child, and she was speaking to the person who would decide whether the man she blamed for that loss would walk free. That is why she got on the plane. Drew Findling's public response after the hearing revealed something about the dynamics of this case. He praised her statement as the most mature he had ever heard from a victim's family member. He noted that she told the court she did not know exactly what happened, only that she had lost her son. She was not making specific factual accusations. She was telling the judge who she was, who her son was, and what the loss of him had done to her family. She let the indictment speak for itself and used her moment in front of the judge to make the human cost impossible to ignore. Findling may have believed the court would not be swayed by her emotions, but the fact that he went outside and spoke about her at length in a public interview suggests that her presence made an impression on everyone in that building, including the people arguing against her position. The trial date of August 20th, 2026 is the moment when everything Andrea Robinson has been building toward either comes into sharper focus or faces new complications. A trial means testimony, evidence presented to a jury, and the government's theory of what happened on August 19th, 2022, tested in the most consequential legal form available. For her, the trial is not the end of the fight. It is the next stage of it. Whatever the outcome, she has already permanently altered the public conversation around this case. She filed a civil lawsuit that continues regardless of the criminal verdict. She made a statement now part of the official record of the federal proceedings. She walked out of that courthouse wearing her son's face and did not flinch. None of this brings Xavier Robinson back. He was from Savannah, Georgia. He was his mother's only child. He was at a gas station in Los Angeles because he was with his cousin, the way family stays together, and he never came home. His mother has refused to let that be the whole story. In courtrooms, on social media, through civil litigation, and through the force of showing up in spaces where it would have been far easier to stay home and grieve quietly, Andrea Robinson has made sure that Xavier Robinson's name is spoken alongside every famous name in this case. She begged the judge to give Lil Durk life in prison. Whether that happens depends on what a jury decides. But what does not depend on any jury is the legacy she has already created for her son, in the record of a federal court, on the steps of a Los Angeles courthouse, and in every public statement she has made since the night she lost him.